You hear it all the time. Just work hard and you'll be fine. For a long time, that was true. One solid job could pay for a house, a car, groceries, and even let you tuck away some savings for the future. But these days, that idea feels almost laughable. The cost of living in the USA has reached a point where surviving on a single job isn't just hard, it's borderline impossible for a lot of people. Take housing, for example. It used to be that rent was just a part of your paycheck, not most of it. Now, in cities like San Francisco or New York, renting even a modest one-bedroom apartment can cost more than $2,500 a month. That's not just expensive, it's crushing. And it's not just big cities anymore. Suburban areas, once seen as affordable, have seen rents and home prices surge, leaving fewer and fewer options for people trying to make ends meet. Groceries aren't much better. Have you noticed how even basics like eggs, bread, and milk feel more like luxury items lately? Inflation has turned a simple trip to the grocery store into a painful balancing act of deciding what you can afford to skip. And don't even get started on healthcare. A single trip to the doctor, or worse, the emergency room, can throw your budget into chaos. Even people with health insurance often find themselves drowning in medical bills they never saw coming. Meanwhile, wages haven't budged much. Sure, some industries offer higher pay, but for a lot of people, the paycheck they bring home feels like it's stuck in time. The federal minimum wage hasn't changed since 2009. Think about that for a second. Everything around us has gotten more expensive, but the base pay millions rely on is still the same. And even for people earning above minimum wage, it rarely feels like enough to cover the basics anymore. And then there's the debt. It's not just credit cards anymore, it's auto loans, personal loans, payday loans, you name it. People used to go into debt because they were reckless, spending money they didn't have on vacations or new gadgets. But now, people are taking on debt just to keep the lights on, to pay rent so they don't get evicted, or to buy groceries so they can eat for another week. Auto loans are another monster altogether. The average car payment is now over $700 a month for new cars, and not far behind for used ones. What choice do people have? Public transit doesn't work for everyone, and a car is a necessity, not a luxury, in so many parts of the country. It's not just bad decisions that are burying people. It's a bad economy. And yet, we keep hearing about how the economy is doing well. But doing well for who? Stocks might be up, and corporations might be posting record profits, but that's not what the average person is feeling. Every person I talk to is struggling. Maybe they're all pretending, but how could that be? It doesn't add up. People aren't out here buying luxury items and living it up. They're fighting to stay afloat. So what do people do? They hustle. Side gigs like driving for Uber, delivering food, or selling handmade crafts on Etsy have become the norm. Everyone knows someone juggling 2 or 3 jobs just to scrape by. But those side hustles come with their own set of problems. They're exhausting, unpredictable, and don't offer benefits like healthcare or paid time off. Sure, they might help in the short term, but they take a toll, physically, mentally, and emotionally. What's really heartbreaking is how all of this affects the bigger picture. People are putting off things that used to be milestones of adulthood. Buying a house feels out of reach for so many, even for those who have been saving for years. Starting a family? That's often delayed or reconsidered entirely because kids are expensive and stability feels like a distant dream. Vacations, hobbies, even just having a weekend to relax, all of it takes a backseat to the grind of just keeping up with bills. And let's be real, it's not just about money, it's about quality of life. Working endless hours to stay afloat leaves little time for friends, family, or even yourself. Burnout becomes a constant companion. And then there's the stress of knowing that one unexpected expense, a car breaking down, an emergency room visit, could wipe you out completely. People are talking more about how to fix this, which is good, but the solutions feel slow and out of reach. Some argue for higher wages, like raising the federal minimum wage to something that reflects today's reality. Others point to the need for more affordable housing or universal health care. But for now, the day-to-day struggle continues, and people are left figuring it out on their own. Living in the USA on a single job, has turned into a marathon with no finish line in sight. The hard truth is that the system isn't built to support the average worker anymore. And while everyone's trying to stay hopeful, it's tough to ignore the feeling that something has to change, because surviving shouldn't feel this impossible.